Hey guys, welcome to Did You Get That on Film? On this podcast, we deep dive into horror movies, and so it is full of explicit content as well as spoilers. Please be advised. Now, let's get to the show.
This is Did You Get That on Film? Where we discuss characters in terrible situations that we would never find ourselves in. I'm your host, DP. With me always is my co host, someone who will lather themselves in peanut butter and have a 15 hooker gangbang. My friend. And she doesn't care what anyone thinks. Someone who appreciates life.
The finer things.
The finer things. My friend Ruth. Ruth, how are you over there after your 15 hooker gangbang?
I'm making it. Thank you so much for checking on me.
I think they all want to know, is it crunchy or smooth?
Stop. Oh my god. Can you even imagine crunchy? Jesus. But yes. So, hello guys. Welcome back to another episode of the podcast. We're happy to have you. In case you don't know, by that very crazy, raunchy, obscure opening, what the hell we're talking about today? Today we are talking about Saw, the OG, the very first one. Yes. So, Saw was released in 2004. And it was directed by James Wan, who also created the story. And he co-wrote the screenplay with his very close friend, Lee Wynell, who he actually went to film school with, and who plays Adam in the movie. Did you know that?
I didn't.
That's the writer. Yeah. So this was actually James Wan's directorial debut, which is, outstanding. Good for him. Because this movie actually only costs about $1.2 million to make, but it made $104 million. And then, very, very luckily, James Wan kind of went out on a limb and he didn't take a salary for this movie in exchange for a percentage of the profits, which is like a stroke of genius because this movie ended up being a phenomenon. They actually ended up making more money than they probably would have if they just taken a flat salary. So that's amazing for James Wan to just come out the gate multimillionaire.
Right. Crazy. And it spawned, it has 10 movies?
Yeah, so the franchise includes, so there's just straight Saw 1 through 6. There's Saw 3D, Jigsaw. There's a spin-off called Spiral that's starring Chris Rock and Samuel L. Jackson.
Okay.
Yes. Have you ever seen that one?
I haven't.
It's horrible.
Have you ever seen it? No. Good.
It's horrible. It was so fucking disappointing. It was really hard to watch. I love Samuel L. Jackson. That was rough, but it does exist. So that was the 9th installment. Then they just had Saw X, which was the 10th installment of the franchise, which is a direct sequel to Saw and a prequel to Saw 2.
Yeah.
So it fits right in the middle of those two. So it's not getting rid of the lore of Saw 2. It's just sitting right between the 1 and 2.
Well, that's a good segue for us because that's the only one I saw. Saw X. And I saw it with my sister, my little sister, who wanted us to do this episode. So this is the 4th and final episode of our listener request month.
Mm-hmm.
So My little sister, she listens every week. She's always like, okay, I like this episode, or, or I like this. And she's like, okay, well, where can I watch the movie? She's like, I listen to the podcast first and then watch the movie. So she's a very, very supportive listener, and she's just great. That's like something that we share with my friend Ruth, but also with her, that we like horror movies. And it's funny that we're doing this as a request because it reminded me of when we were younger, and I thought of a genius idea. I wanted to put a comment box in the house for just small requests that people should do. Everyone was like, that's the stupidest thing I've heard in my life. But here we are. She put a requested.
And now it's come full circle.
So, once again, my ideas are great. So, I know you're listening, so we're just really excited. Again, thank you so much for your support, and I'm sure you'll let us know what you think of the episode.
Yes, and we love it. So thank
Yeah.
you so much, Dondria, because I think that had you not requested, I don't think he would have watched it.
Not at
He
all.
would have just watched that 10th installment and just let it go. But yeah, so fourth and final movie in our listener request series. So thus far we've done Hell House LLC Origins, Carmichael Manor. I don't know why, but it's just, they made it a lot of fucking words. So that was requested by Wolf Dad. And then we did Thanksgiving, which was requested by It Was the Boogeyman, Justin. And then we did Candyman 2, Farewell to the Flesh, which was requested by 321 Ghost Pod. And so this is our fourth one, Saw, which was requested by Dondria, a very, very special listener. So thank you so much, everybody. We really, really appreciate it. And so, yeah, just, coming to a close on the listener request month, we really hope to do this again in the future. But I really just wanted to give a shout out just in general to all of our listeners. We really appreciate all the support that we've been getting. We can't be more thankful to you guys. And I know that we've done this before a long time ago, kind of when we were first starting, but I did want to just say it again. I wanted to give a shout out to our international listeners because it's growing every day. I know that we have listeners in the United Kingdom. So thank you guys. If you're listening to this, thank you so much. We really appreciate that support. Thank you to our listeners in Canada, Germany, Ireland, Philippines, India, Japan, Switzerland, Algeria, Bosnia, Pakistan, Netherlands, Denmark, and Turkey. And like we said in the previous episode, we never thought that people would listen to this beyond like our parents and our siblings. No, I think my mom stopped listening. But we really really appreciate it. We just cannot believe that you guys are tuning in with us every week. So thank you so much. And then I wanted to give a special shout out to some of our biggest supporters that reach out to us constantly. Of course, we wanted to thank our listeners who requested. So Wolf Dad, It Was the Boogeyman, 321 Ghost Pod, Dondria, of course. And then some of our other supporters who are just always interacting with us. Elephant, drawn by Dan, Uncle Will's movie reviews. If you guys haven't checked him out, please do. His username is at Lawan Williams. He also does movie reviews. Not horror, but a lot of great stuff on there. We also wanted to thank Yaya, Naisha, hey girl. Thank you for listening every week. We wanted to thank Lil Jody, 1993, K Scanlon 635, Horror Dark Angel. Of course, This Girl Loves Horror. We love her. She's so supportive. Josh Moreno, of course, Midnight Movie Hour. They post great content and they've always been very, very supportive of us. Horror Night. And of course, the guys over at Mouths of Madness Pod. If you guys haven't checked them out, please do. They are great. We love listening to them. They've always been super, super supportive of us. They also review horror movies. We highly recommend. Our friends over at The Wrong Turn Pod, also our friends over at Franchise Fright Pod, Sinister Horror. Please check all of them out. Mr. K. Sardonicus, Carmel Cutie 13, Horror Movie Enthusiasts, The Strange Detective, Cray Dre 31, Jack Bentley, Mike O'Neill. All of you guys, thank you so much. I mean, we really could not be any more appreciative. And we hope that we can continue bringing you great content in the future if you just stick with us. We're hoping to only get better from here on out, guys. So thank you so, so, so much. And yeah, so back to the movie. So I know that we were talking about where this 10th installment sits within the franchise. So direct sequel to 1, but prequel to 2. It just came out last year, 2023. I know you went with Dondria. It did phenomenally in theaters. A lot of people, I don't think it's controversial to say, think that this is the best one since the first one. A lot of people either say that or definitely put it in their top 3. And so because it did so well, they have announced that they will be releasing a Saw 11. Of course. You knew they weren't going to let that cash cow go. And I believe that it's scheduled to be released in 2025. So I think that that's like the current schedule. But yeah, within the franchise, there's also, when they were trying to put out this movie, they were having trouble when they were shopping it around. Like I said, James Wan and Lee Wanell were not big names in the industry at the time. They were actually no names. So they graduated film school, wanted to make a movie. So they needed to get a production company to invest because they also had no money. So they made a short film titled Saw, which they made in 2003. And I think that it just included that reverse bear trap scene, except instead of the actress that plays Amanda, instead of her wearing the bear trap, it was just Lee Wynell wearing the bear trap. But it was just a short film that was like that scene. And it did really well. Like, it piqued the interest of producers, and that's how they ended up getting funding to make the movie. They also had a short prequel film that they created in 2005 called Saw Rebirth. There's also 2 video games, 4 DLC packs for other video games, and theme park rides.
DLC is downloadable characters.
Downloadable content.
Damn, I was close.
You were very close, yeah. There's just a lot surrounding this franchise. A lot of material, a lot of content.
So 2 Francis wrote this movie and now rich.
Well, yes, so they were in film school and they knew that they wanted to do a film together because they were friends. And yeah, they just fucking wrote this movie and made it on a shoestring ass budget. They really had like no budget. And yeah, I mean, good for them.
Look, that's gonna be us. As soon as we get off our ass.
I know, right? As soon as we make the decision to just sit down and do something, we could, boom, instant millionaires. So, just one thing about this movie, it is shot in a non-linear fashion.
Yes, it is.
Yes, so it jumps around a good bit. So I did my best to try to keep the notes straight to not confuse anybody that hasn't seen the movie before. I definitely recommend that you watch it. I don't want you to like get confused. It's just a lot of flashbacks, a lot of things that they show you in the scene, a lot of little things that they want you to kind of go back and see. So just I called out the kills as they happen on the screen, but not everything happens. Like, a lot of stuff happens in the past, and then we talk about it and we only see it through memory, and so just be aware of that. Anything else you wanted to add?
No, let's get to it.
Yeah, so I guess let's just jump in. That's all we can do is just jump in. All right, so boom, movie starts.
It's dark.
Darkness. We start with a guy who we'll later learn is Adam. He's lying in a bathtub, pitch black room. In the bathtub with him, there's something kind of floating around near his face, all around in the bathtub. It's something small attached to an LED light. When he pops up freaking out, it pulls the stopper from the tub, so now all the water is starting to run out. And whatever it was, this little LED light, it runs down the drain with the water. We know that that must be important because they do a close-up shot of it. So it's just something to keep in mind. So Adam is frantic, as any fucking body would be, waking up in this pitch black room, calling for help, when he hears an unknown voice. And he's like, who the hell is that? But also, what the hell is that funky ass smell? And I was like, I'm not really surprised that it stinks in here, because when the lights are turned on, they realize that they are both in this nasty ass, dirty
Gas
ass.
station bathroom.
It's it's clearly a dilapidated building that they're in. The shit is gross, but they're each chained to pipes in the walls. And then they notice there's a dead man lying in the middle of the floor. The man in the middle of the floor has a revolver in one hand, a tape recorder in the other, and a big gunshot wound to kind of the side of his head. There's blood everywhere. It's encased in blood. The men in the room introduce themselves as Adam and then Lawrence, aka Larry Gordon, who's a doctor. Larry's like, I also just woke up in this bathroom, just like you, Adam. But yelling is not going to help the situation, so let's try to figure out what's going on here. So he's really trying to glean some information from Adam, but all that Adam can give him is that he fell asleep in his piece of shit apartment and then woke up in this piece of shit bathroom. Larry says really all that he can remember is that he was heading home from work, and then he doesn't remember a thing. So Larry reasons that whoever brought them there must want something from them, because if they didn't, they've clearly been passed out for some time. They could have been killed at any time, but they weren't. So they really just need to figure out what exactly it is this person wants, and then they can figure out why they're here, and then they can work on trying to leave. Larry also notes that in this nasty, grimy piece of shit bathroom, there's a brand new clock on the wall, which Adam's like, so what? But Larry's like, okay, I'm gonna need you to put your thinking cap on.
And keep it on.
And keep it on. Because right now, it is immediately clear to me that you don't have it on. Because let's think. Clearly, the clock is important, because who would waste their time putting a brand new clock in this nasty-ass bathroom? Think, boy. So, it's like, clearly somebody wants us to keep track of the time. So now Larry is trying to open the door when Adam notices that he has an envelope in his pocket. In the envelope, there is a small cassette tape with his name on it, and it says, "Play Me." Larry quickly realizes that he also has an envelope in his pocket. In his envelope, he also has a little tape, but he also has one singular bullet, and a small key. As soon as he sees the key, he immediately tries to unlock the chains on his leg, but that's not gonna fucking work.
I was like,
Why would it be that easy?
you really thought?
You thought.
You thought?
But so he throws the key to Adam to also try. Surprise, surprise, it doesn't fucking work. So Adam sees the tape recorder in the dead man's hand, so he grabs the tape recorder and starts to play his little tape. Grabbing this tape recorder was not easy, but he does get it. And when he plays the tape, a man's voice rings through. This man, we will later learn, is Jigsaw. He addresses Adam by name, and he tells him that he just might be in the room that he dies in, which definitely captures Adam's attention. He goes on to tell him that up until now, he's simply sat in the shadows watching others live their lives, just a voyeur. Jigsaw then kind of plays the fuck out of him, which he has no issue doing ever. And he said that he sees Adam as a strange mix of like angry yet apathetic, but most importantly, do not forget it. You're also just pathetic. I just also find you very, very pathetic. So Adam's like,
what I did.
like, damn, okay. Jigsaw then asks him, are you going to watch yourself die today? Or are you going to do something about it? So now Larry throws Adam his tape so that he can play it in the tape recorder. The same exact voice comes on, Jigsaw, and he calls Larry by name. And this is where things get a little bit awkward because his tape says that Larry has to kill Adam by 6 p.m. It's 10:45 a.m. now. If he doesn't do it, his wife and daughter will be killed. He names them by name, so you know it's real. He then also says that Larry will then be left in this room to die, both of them, and they'll just like rot in here. He also directs their attention to the man that's lying on the floor in the room and says a line that's like, when there's that much poison in your blood, the only thing left to do is to shoot yourself. He then raggedy ass coughs into the recorder. Like, bro, edit that out. But whatever. He goes on to say that there are ways for Larry to, quote, win this, hidden all around him, and to just remember that X marks the spot for treasure. So, pretty ominous.
Yes.
So then he says, let the game begin. That's the end of the recording. But Larry takes a tape recorder. He turns the volume as high as it can go because he feels like he heard something more. He starts rewinding it, playing it back, rewinding it, playing back, and he ends up hearing at the very end just a tiny little whisper. He hears Jigsaw say, follow your heart. So that clues them in to a shit-stained heart on the nasty, broken, poop-filled toilet that's sitting in the room with them. And Adam just plunges his hand right in this bowl of shit, liquid shit, filled to the brim with shit. Doesn't find anything. So that's when Larry's like, well, check the top of the toilet. He opens it, and that's where he finds a bag. And he's like, I really wish I'd checked there first. Me too, Adam, because that shit was really gross. And there's no way in here for him to wash his hands. This shit is going to stay on his hands for the rest of the film. Don't forget it.
It might be the rest of your life.
Literally. So in the back of the toilet, he ends up finding 2 saws in a plastic bag. So Adam doles out the saws. He gets one, Larry gets one.
He was like, you think you're going to pass me one? And I was thinking to myself, hell no. Didn't the tape just say you wanted to kill me?
Right. No, yeah, you're right about that. But I think that their thinking is like, well, if they can both get out, then they can just beat it and not have to follow these rules.
Is that the way it was? Because I feel like it must have been written like that because there's not really much of it where he's feeling like skeptical of Lawrence. Because I would have been like, oh, hell no. I thought when he said that, like, it was going to make them kind of be like enemies, but they never really are. They butt heads a little bit, but it's never like complete distrust, which I thought was kind of, funny considering that his tape straight up said, yeah, you need to kill him.
Yeah, but I guess Larry is not giving off the vibe that he wants to kill him. And there is some time. So I think that they're like, if maybe we could put our heads together, we could figure this out and get out of here. But yeah, no, you're right. It's only very, very, very small flashes of distrust. But yeah.
They're like really moving like a team.
They really do. It's only just a couple of times that Adam is kind of the sneaky one, I guess, in all of this. But they do work together and they do end up forming kind of a bond.
Yes.
But we also see in this moment Adam kind of sneakily throws the plastic bag that the saws were wrapped in into the bathtub while Larry isn't looking. So that's just something to kind of remember. The way that he does it definitely suggests that, I don't know, there's something else in the bag. So then naturally, they both immediately start trying to saw through their chains before Adam's saw breaks, and he is frustrated. And out of frustration, he ends up throwing what's left of his saw at a mirror in the room, causing a chunk of it to break off and fall on the floor. When Larry sees this, he stops sawing, realizing, okay, the killer doesn't actually want us to cut through these chains because these saws are just way too dull to do that. Instead, he realizes that the killer wants him to cut their feet off. Yeah. So Larry then says he has an idea of who might be doing this. Adam is like, what the hell do you mean by that?
What took you so long?
Right. And he's like, calm down. He's like, I think I know who it is because the police were after this person. And they actually considered him, Larry, a suspect at a time. He then lays it all out from the beginning. Now, when things like this happen in the movie, when somebody remembers something, when they're telling a story, explaining something, we are always flashing back to that scene. So nobody is ever just telling something to tell something. We're always going to get it laid out for us. So that's what's happening now. We're getting a flashback to 5 months prior. So we are watching the events unfold. These are things that happened in the past, but now we're seeing them firsthand. So 5 months prior, detectives David Tapp and Detective Stephen Singh, they are meeting up at a crime scene with another officer, Carrie, and it's a particularly gruesome crime scene. It's a man named Paul who died of massive blood loss after essentially crawling through a big tunnel of razor wire. He'd crawled through it so quickly, and the razor wire cut him so deep that they actually found stomach acid on the ground. At the scene, they also found a tape recorder, the tape recorder that Jigsaw left him, just like the one that Adam and Larry got in the bathroom. And so when they play his tape, it turns out that Paul, despite being a healthy middle-aged man, tried to commit suicide by cutting his wrists. So Jigsaw set up this trap to see if Paul really wanted to die or if he was just trying to get attention. So he's like, if you really do want to die, all you have to do is sit still, do nothing, and wait for a timer to go off. It's going to close the door to this room, seal you inside. But ironically, if you do want to live, you're going to have to cut yourself again by climbing through this razor wire. He had exactly 2 hours, and it's a ton of fucking razor wire.
And it's everywhere.
It's all around him. And so he tries to climb through all the razor wire, but like we said, he did it really quickly, moving quick. It was cutting him really deeply. He fucking dies. Massive blood loss. So that's the first on-screen death. And one thing that I have to note about this franchise, I know that you've seen this one and you've seen 10, and it just like in this one, sometimes I feel like, don't you think that was mad aggressive?
Mad aggressive, mad nosy. And it's like, you don't appreciate life. All right, hold on now. I don't know anything much about mental health, but I just feel like, damn.
Right.
Maybe after his attempt, maybe he did have a,
Appreciation for life.
life.
But wait, Dante, and I did decide, I was like, well, I'm not going to do this. Similarly to what we did in Scream, I was really thinking, like, we're not going to address anything that's happened in subsequent movies because I feel like we should just take this movie for what it is. Because one big issue that I have with the Saw franchise is that they retcon a lot of stuff.
Oh, they do?
All the time. It's too much. It gets to a point where it's just like, okay. And they're like, you remember that happened in the first one? Well, actually, what you didn't see was that this person was actually in the building. That wasn't even the same person that you thought it was. And it's just like, okay, I'm fucking weary. Like, this is too much to keep up with.
Okay.
But one thing that they do show, I just really want to say this. The person, I don't want to spoil anything before we get to the end, but the person that is playing Jigsaw, actually, I don't know, I think they might show it in the second movie. He actually tries to commit suicide. He tries to kill himself, and then when it doesn't work, he has a new appreciation for life. So I'm like, the fucking nerve of you. Like, you don't know that this guy doesn't have a new appreciation for life, but now it's like you want to punish him in this seemingly impossible.
Because why is the wire coming from every direction? It's not like it's like a ladder you have to just climb and it's razor. It's like wrapped.
And it's like, okay, you're going to get hurt. It's going to hurt really bad, but you can live through it if you just endure. No. It's like crawling through the woods, all the tangles of trees and bushes and stuff, except it's razor wire.
Do you think that he wanted him to live?
Stop. Okay. That's the fucking question, because I'm going to say just one other thing from another movie. Later down the line, Jigsaw does end up getting a companion. He has an accomplice with him, but this comes in another movie. But one thing that happens is that companion set up a trap where it was like, even if the person did win, even if they did complete the trap, the person died anyway. And he was very, very mad at this accomplice, because he's like, that's not the point of the game. The point of the game is we're trying to get them to appreciate life. And so if they make it through, they come out on the other side, we leave them alone. Congratulations, you won. But we're not deceitful. We're not liars, because that would be something that you would fucking make a trap for, a liar, right?
That's such a Ghostface thing.
It really is. And it was really crazy when it happened, because the first time this thing happened, you're not expecting it to happen, because every time, we see people get through the trap, and if you get through the trap, you win, or you don't, you lose. But that's like what happened. And it was just really, what's a word for it?
Mean-spirited?
Yes, it was very, very mean-spirited, very malicious. And so he really was not down with that. But in my mind, I'm like, you made this man crawl through 500 feet of tangled razor wire. I mean, you had to have wanted him to die, right? Like, I'm shook.
You think he went in Lowe's or he got to pick up?
I feel like he would have had to go, because I feel like picking up, they would have had police waiting at the door. He probably went to Lowe's through self-checkout so people wouldn't notice that he was buying all the razor wire they had in the store. I don't know. Because the guy tried. It's not like he sat there freaking out. He immediately started crawling through this shit, and he was doing it pretty quickly, enduring the pain, but he died of blood loss. What the hell was he supposed to do? I don't know.
It wasn't even a straight shot.
No. It was a cage that he had to crawl through with like a turn in it. It was just a lot happening. You couldn't have wanted this person to live, right? Like, I refuse to believe that you actually wanted them to complete this task. But then sometimes, and we're going to get there, when we get there, I have a lot of questions, because sometimes I feel like in this instance, the punishment is disproportionate to the crime.
The crime.
There's no fucking way. And then the dude, Paul, I'm not trying to like shame the dead, but Paul was a hefty ass man. So it's not even like he could suck in his stomach if he wanted to. Yeah, hell yeah, you found stomach acid on the ground. This big ass fucking belly.
I know that hurt. Oh, Lord.
I know it hurt. And he was enduring it. And it's not like he didn't have the will to get through it. He died on the way of blood loss. What the hell is he supposed to do?
And you just left him there.
And you were just like, ugh. But then, so the detectives are surveying the scene, and they notice that the person has a jigsaw puzzle piece portion of their flesh cut off on his back. And that's how the killer became known as the Jigsaw Killer. So then they cut to another case. So this is a man named Mark. Mark, who was probably trying to get over on an insurance company, was pretending to be ill. He was lying. And Jigsaw has the receipts to prove it. So Jigsaw's like, the jig is up. You've been out and about, so now I'm going to test you. I've injected you with a slow-acting poison. The antidote is in this room, in a safe. The combination to the safe is written on the wall. But y'all, there's probably 2,000 numbers written on this wall. He's lined all the 4 walls in the room with just random numbers. And he's like, the combination's somewhere on this wall. But to make things worse, the floor is also lined with broken glass. But then to make things even worse, which I was like, this was kind of out of left field, because I was like, that all of those things were bad enough. He also has a flammable substance slathered all over his entire body. But wait, the only light source in the room is this teeny tiny little like fucking tea light candle that he has to hold up against the wall to see the numbers. So he's looking at the numbers with this candle, running back and forth. Obviously, time is of the essence, because once the flame gets too close to his hand, that's it. Which inevitably happens. He ends up catching on fire. And so then what they find of him are his completely charred remains. And this is the second on-screen death. And this is another one where I was like, he wanted him to die. Because why not just give him a bigger candle? He's already walking on glass. He's already covered in the substance, so he'd have to move slowly. Why'd you give him a little, like, fucking miniature candle?
Wasn't the glass enough?
Why did it have to be both? Glass and the flames. Pick one.
That was just mean. You know, walking on glass is one of the worst things.
Horrible.
One of the worst things to endure. And then they'd be like, and I lotioned you up in kerosene.
But not even just that I lotioned you up with kerosene. I lotioned you up with kerosene and I gave you a third of a candle. Not even a full candle. So you have zero time. I feel like even with a normal size candle, it would have been very hazardous. He would have had to move slow. He probably still would have run out of time because there's 2,000 numbers on the walls in this room, and he's still walking on glass. I feel like all of those things would have been enough. Because remember, let's not forget, he's been poisoned. So he's already dying.
I forgot. I forgot him.
I don't know. I just feel like if it was me at a certain point when that candle was getting low and my feet were bloody pulps, I probably would have been like, how bad is it to die from this poison? Really? Let me just sit down and accept my fate. Because he was really moving on that glass too. And I was like, I can't even imagine what that must feel like. The chunks of glass were so big that I was like, it's probably hitting all his tendons and stuff.
I don't have it in me.
Nah, for that guy that had to climb through the razor wire, I probably would have been like, it's been a good run, but I'm just gonna sit here. Because you were gonna die anyway, but now you're dying with like all your stomach acid on the ground.
Right.
No, just take me now, Lord. And so as the police are going over the scene, they find a peephole. And so that's when they figure out that Jigsaw actually likes to watch these things happening. This time, though, they find a pen light at the scene. We're going to learn that it's Dr. Larry Gordon's pen light. They know this because they run it for prints. That's when we cut to another flashback. It's Larry at work. He's in a patient's room. They're doing rounds with the medical students. He's going over this patient's x-rays. And we learn that the patient has an inoperable brain tumor in his frontal lobe, and it started out as colon cancer. So he's really fucked. It's terminal. His condition is declining fast. So they're just kind of making him comfortable here, but he is going to die. So Larry, of course, keeps referring to the patient as the patient, the patient. And this really rubs an orderly named Zepp the wrong way. And from the hallway, Zepp just kind of chimes in like, hey, his name's John, and he's a very interesting person. So the patient is John Kramer. I don't even think that what Larry did was like crazy. Like, he didn't talk to him crazy. All he said was like, thanks, Zepp. You know, our orderlies form a close bond with the patients, and like the medical students kind of laugh, but this kind of pisses Zepp off. You could tell by the look in his face, and I was like, I feel like he was as nice as any doctor I've ever seen.
But I mean, he calls him the patient because it's like they tell you not to get attached to the patients.
Because I can't afford to, Zepp, because I'm a doctor and this is just one patient that I have that's dying. If I became friends with every patient that I have that's dying, I would
be a mess.
Yes. So I was like, Zepp is kind of doing a lot in this
Right.
moment.
I agree.
And Zepp, I think, just kind of resents, I guess, doctors' approach to patient care. I don't know. But then we get a quick flash of the patient who is sleeping in the bed, John. And before they move on, that's when Larry gets pulled away. He gets a call. Detectives Tap and Singh are in his office waiting for him because they're coming to question him about his whereabouts the night before because they found his pen light at a murder scene. So then they present him with the pen light they found at the scene. And so they're like, I think we should kind of head down to the station, which they do. And his lawyer meets him there. And Larry is kind of annoying because, first of all, he's Magoo from Liar Liar.
Which is something that bothers me.
Yeah. It's the claw.
It's the claw.
The claw's gonna get you. The claw. Just like Larry's just kind of really annoying because he thus far has not given the police an alibi because he doesn't want to tell them. Because what he shares with his lawyer, who is like, okay, let's be fucking for real right now. Like, where the hell were you? Because it's looking kind of bad. He's like, okay, I was out meeting a woman because he's having an affair. He was just afraid to tell the police because he knew what he was doing was wrong. And his lawyer's like,
they don't care.
Bitch, this is a murder investigation. Yeah, look, shut the fuck up. What the hell is wrong with you? So the police are able to confirm his alibi, but they end up asking him to stick around anyway to hear this woman, Amanda's testimony, because she, thus far, is the only person that has survived one of Jigsaw's traps. And I was like, it's a little weird that they're asking him to
stay?
Right? And it's like, what the hell is he gonna do? He's not a fucking detective, first of all. Second of all, does Amanda know that he's listening to this? She's a fucking victim, and he is not. He's just a fucking civilian. And so I guess their thought process is like, okay, well, the killer obviously wanted this to get pinned on you in some way. So let's see if what she says jogs your memory. I don't know.
They didn't follow up with that.
No.
So it was just weird.
Yeah, so he just kind of sits through this like, okay. But she sits down, Amanda comes in, they ask her to recount what she remembers. And this is where we cut to the scene of Amanda's encounter with Jigsaw. So Amanda woke up in a room, similar to everyone else, no idea how she got there. So Amanda is tied to a chair, and she has this contraption on her head, like totally encasing her head, like around her mouth. And then a TV comes on, and this is when we get our first look at Billy. It's Jigsaw's puppet.
Oh, it's called Billy. Okay.
That's what, yeah, they never say that in the movie, but so Billy, Jigsaw's puppet. And this is the first time that we hear what has now become like this iconic line attributed to this franchise, I want to play a game. The puppet, which is it's kind of funny when you think about it. If the movie wasn't so, like, I guess, kind of scary, in any other circumstances, it's like this person's using this puppet and he's making its mouth move to tell her the instructions to the game because she can't play a tape recorder, right? Because she's tied to a chair. She has this thing on her head. So it's giving her the instructions. He tells her that the device she's wearing is hooked to her upper and lower jaws. And then when the timer goes off, her mouth will be permanently ripped open, which I feel like is an understatement for what is going to happen to her. So he says, think of it like a reverse bear trap. And that's exactly what it is, because he even put together a small demonstration. So on his little demonstration video, he has a styrofoam dummy head, and it has the reverse bear trap on it. And when the timer goes off, I mean,
it obliterates. It literally, it's like confetti.
it's literally like confetti. And he's like, oh yeah, your mouth will be permanently ripped open. No, her head is going
to explode.
it's going to explode. It's going to, I mean, rip her apart. Unrecognizable. Closed casket.
Cremation.
Cremation. Yes. So she's obviously fucking terrified. It's an extremely effective little video, which she probably needed that fire lit under her to do what she had to do. But he tells her that the key to unlock the device is in the stomach of her dead cellmate. And he ends the video with, live or die, make your choice. Amanda starts freaking out too much. She's not really thinking right now. She's able to escape her restraints on the chair, but then she just jumps up. And as soon as she does this, it pulls the cord on the back of her device, and that's what starts the timer for the reverse bear trap. So that's when she heads over to the body. She picks up a knife that's lying next to the body. Only, surprise, surprise, this person is not in fact dead. He opens his mouth and he starts moaning, but he's not moving. He's just kind of laying there. It turns out, we're going to learn later, that he's just been injected with a large amount of opioids, so he's just kind of melted into the floor right now. But he is very much alive. But Amanda stabs him anyway, and she kills him, digs through his intestines to find this key. She does it, she unlocks the bear trap and takes it off with maybe 2 seconds to spare. It goes off like when she's lifting it off of her head. That's a third on-screen death for this poor guy that she killed. And this is what I was talking about before. Well, Amanda's sitting there on the floor. She's crying, trying to come to terms with what just happened. She just fucking killed a guy. She just almost died. The puppet rolls in on his tricycle, which sounds silly if you've never seen it. So he comes in and he congratulates her for being alive, because most people are so ungrateful to be alive. So that just kind of clues us into why he's doing what he's doing.
But what your boy did?
Dante, I don't know. I don't
What
know.
he did?
I don't
To just
know.
be killed.
Stop, Dante. I'm trying to think. I don't know if they say.
And she was stabbing him so hard.
She was stabbing him really hard because she was like, I need to make sure that he's dead. I also need to make sure that I can get in these guts.
Get them guts.
Yes. Because she's like, I need to find this fucking key. But then, so at the police station, Detective Tapp is interviewing Amanda, and he's kind of a little harsh, but he's like, Amanda, you're a drug addict, right? So that's why he chose you, right? And so, yeah, I mean, that's why he chose her. And then Detective Tapp asks her, well, are you grateful to be alive? And Amanda, you know, she's crying, she's traumatized, she's upset, but she says that he helped her. So she's kind of grateful for the experience. Now, let me back it up for a minute, because this is what I'm fucking talking about. You made the guy that he's physically healthy, yes, but he clearly has some sort of mental illness that pushed him to want to commit suicide. Something is going on in his life. Same thing as you. What we're going to find out later, you tried to commit suicide. So you definitely know the depths of despair that this person is in. But you became very grateful after you lived, but you didn't wait for him to go through these emotions. You don't know anything about him. You just know he did it once. So you put him in a huge room with tangles of barbed wire, and you were like, good luck. It's like either get sealed in a room and starve to death, or crawl through this barbed wire and cut yourself up and die. But Amanda is a drug addict. You put the bear trap on her. Yes, that's really scary, but her punishment is to kill someone else? That doesn't seem fair to me. Not saying that she should have had like a worse trap because she's a drug addict. That's not at all what I'm implying. Because substance abuse disorder is its own mental illness. But you had took one person with a mental illness and just basically killed them. Like you were just like die or die, die slow or die fast. And but then her, she has substance abuse disorder. She's doing drugs, but you were like, go kill a guy to save yourself.
That's why I was asking, like, do you think that those first two were his first ones? He just got better at it.
There's another trap later where I think the key to get out of the trap is behind the person's own eye.
Oh.
Yeah, it's behind their own eye. So they have to cut their own eye out, blind themselves to get the key to then let themselves out. She didn't even have to hurt herself. And I was like, okay, not, and I know we say this all the time. It's definitely not easy to just kill someone. But in a moment like that, you're in like that high adrenaline, like fight or flight, because she watched the video of what was going to happen to her if she didn't. Her brain was going to turn into fucking Monopoly pieces. So she fucking stabbed him.
I mean, it was confetti.
Straight up. And that was going to be her dome if she didn't kill a guy. So it's like, yeah, she killed the guy.
I'm trying to understand. Does he like stalk the people? How does he know these things?
That's a really good question. I'm not really sure. Yes, he does stalk them. Yes, that is a thing that he does.
But you're like, yes.
But I don't know how he's clued into the people in the first place. But you're right. I'm not sure how he picks them.
Damn, so it's just like one day you could just be having a messed up day and being really towards me, and that's just the day he saw you and he's like, well, now I'm gonna teach you.
I'm gonna get that bitch.
Because we all have days where we're just like not really feeling it. It's just like, I wish things were different. He's like, oh no, you want things to be different?
Bet. I'll make them real fucking different.
I'll teach you different. You're just like, no, please.
I know, please, God.
You're really feeling yourself that you're the judge, jury, and executioner.
Yeah, I mean, straight up. So now we're cutting back to the bathroom with Adam and Larry, and Adam is really starting to freak out because he doesn't know what the hell is going on, and he feels in the dark because he's like, well, you, Larry, you know more than I do. You have information, and I don't like that. And Larry's like, well, I watch the fucking news, and you don't. That's not my fucking fault. But that's when Adam ends up picking up that piece of glass that broke off from the mirror earlier, and he's threatening to cut Larry with it. But that's when he notices that this piece of glass is not just a regular piece of glass, but it's actually a two-way mirror. So that's what tips him off, and he throws something at the mirror and shatters it completely, revealing that they are actually being recorded. There's a camera on the other side of this two-way mirror. So then we get a shot, presumably of the killer that's watching them right now. We see his hands in black gloves, and he's just saying stuff like, I see you, and don't look at me, I can't help you, stuff like that. But Adam's trying to break the glass in front of the camera because he really wants to break the camera because he doesn't want to be watched in here. But Larry is just like, it's no use, you fool. Like, save your fucking energy. And he's like, you're not going to break that glass because the glass wasn't meant to be broken. He's like, every single minor detail to this whole thing has been planned out to a T. That's just kind of how this guy operates. And so Adam, who is just kind of in frantic panic mode a lot of times, that he's like, how can you be so calm? He has your wife and kids. Aren't you even thinking about that? And Larry's like, yes, you fuck. But what is freaking out going to do? How is that going to help us? That's not productive.
It'll make me make a mistake.
Exactly.
And I'm a surgeon. I'm used to working under pressure.
Right. And Adam, you're not. So Larry starts to think about the last thing he said to his daughter. And so because he's thinking, of course, we're cutting to a new scene. So This is where we get a scene. It's at their house, and his little girl woke up in the middle of the night, and we see her kind of staring into the darkness of her room. And then she gets up, she leaves, and she goes in the room to her mom. When her mom wakes up, she tells her mom that there's a man in her room. And it's not in her imagination because the man talked to her. So her mom says she's going to go check the room with her, thinking it's all in her imagination. But the little girl's like, no, I want dad to do it. So they go to Larry's home office where he's still working late into the night. And there's clearly a lot of tension between Larry and his wife. He finishes his paragraph, finishes what he's typing before he takes his daughter to bed. He turns on the light in the room. There's nothing there that he could see with the naked eye. He didn't check anything, but okay, there's nothing there. And so he and his daughter are having this heartwarming little scene, and it's very much Magoo.
Give me your tootsies.
Exactly. I was like, shut the fuck up.
Are you Magoo in real life?
They were just like, use that.
We need a Magoo ass dude to do this.
Yeah, call that one Magoo. But that's when he gets a page on his beeper and he tells his daughter that he has to leave. He has to go to work. His daughter's like, I hate that thing, because apparently he gets paged a lot.
He's a doctor.
But his daughter's only like 7.
Yeah.
But he kisses her and he starts to leave. And that's when his daughter is like, you're not going to leave us, are you? Well, he assures her that he's not going to leave her and mom. He tells her that he loves her, and tomorrow he's going to read her her favorite story, making this promise. Turns off the light, leaves the room. Argument immediately ensues with his wife because they are on the cusp of a divorce.
Or some days, a murder-suicide.
Right, because his wife is like...
You're a goddamn robot. You're too Magoo.
Yes, that's what it is. Because she's like... There's no passion. She's like, I wish that you would stop just kind of wandering through life pretending to be happy. You can't be happy in this bitch, right? Because I know I'm fucking not. And he's like, what are you talking about? I am happy. And she's like, shut the fuck up.
He's like, gee, Willikers.
The look on her face is like,
bitch.
You fucking, yes.
Bitch.
So she's like, I wish that you would tell me that you hated me, because then maybe there would be more passion in that. And he's just like,
well, I'll be goddarn.
I gotta go. So it is really sad because the little girl can hear all of this. We can see that because they always can hear. You fuckling, where do you think she got that idea of you leaving? She probably hears you all the time. But he just tells his wife that they're going to talk about it later. He tries to kiss her on the cheek and she's like, bitch.
I just told you.
I hate you. So she's like, just leave. If you don't get the fuck out of my face. So he does. He leaves. So we cut back to the bathroom with Larry and Adam. And Larry's sitting there reminiscing about this horrible night overall. But Larry asks Adam if he wants to see a picture of his daughter. He ends up saying sure. And he's looking at the pictures and she's like, oh, she's beautiful. And then he's like, well, where's this famous wife of yours? And Larry says that he's like, well, look, there's a picture behind the one of my daughter. It's my favorite picture because it's one of the rare ones where we're all together.
Because he's like usually taking it.
Yeah, which makes sense. Yeah. Somebody always has to take the picture. And of course it's going to be him because you're not even really in this family. So go take our picture.
I want pictures of me and my daughter.
Yeah, like, who are you? So that's when Adam goes to pull out the picture. But when he does pull out the picture, we can see his face drop. We know something's wrong. When we're shown the picture that he's looking at, it is of Adam's wife, Allie, and their daughter, Diana. But they're tied up and they're gagged. It's not funny.
It's not funny. No, I didn't mean to, well, I meant to laugh, but I did. What I'm about to say is, it's just... It was very like, what the hell?
No, yeah, I mean, it catches you off guard when you're not expecting it because his face drops and I'm like, damn, but did he get a nudie photo? No, it's a photo of them being held hostage.
My favorite picture of her.
Well, my favorite picture of my wife because her mouth is taped shut.
Oh,
She so Adam, he doesn't say anything. He's not like, oh my god, written at the bottom of the picture. It also says regards, and the signature is just like a little jigsaw puzzle piece. And so he just flips it over. On the back, it's written X marks the spot. Sometimes you see more with your eyes shut. But Adam just takes the picture and kind of hides it. He tells Larry that there is no picture there. And so Larry's like, wait, what? Let me see. And he takes his wallet and he's like, oh, he must have taken it out. And Adam's sitting there like, huh, yeah, took it out. So now that's when we cut back to the scene at Larry's house and we get a little bit more insight on what happens in the house after he leaves. So we see that final scene with his wife. She's like, just please get the fuck out of my face. He walks out, but as it's almost like as soon as he does, we get a shot in his little girl's room, Diana. She's in the bed. I think this is so fucking creepy. I think this is one of the creepiest scenes in the whole movie. I thought it was well done, very effective. So she's laying in a bed and she's looking at the closet and she is scared because she can kind of hear like whispers. She looks over and she just sees a man in her closet. She just sees his eye illuminated. And I was like, this is giving
Billy.
Black Christmas vibe. Yes, I was like, it's giving so much Billy. And it was very, very creepy with Billy. And it's creepy in this instance too, because he's just staring at her and he's saying, good night, little girl. Then without any warning, he just bursts out of the closet. She, of course, starts screaming. And when the mom runs into the room, very creepy, the man is just standing in front of Diana, totally covered in a sheet. And he then reaches out to grab her. And the next thing we see, they're tied up together, being gagged on the floor of the master bedroom by a man dressed all in black. And we really don't see his face clearly, like full on, for a long time in the movie. So when we cut to them in this situation, we usually see his hands. We usually kind of see his body, maybe portions of his face. But that's just kind of how it looks for a good portion of the movie. So just like keep that in mind. So he's also really fucking with them while they're tied up. So he has a stethoscope and he listens to their heartbeat and then listens to their heart rate increase as he pulls out a gun, waves a gun in front of them. Which is a real asshole thing to do.
And for what?
What was the reason? But then he goes to look out of the window from the master bedroom. And oddly enough, Detective Tapp is in an apartment right across from Dr. Larry's house, and he is recording the house. So he gets the man on camera, but he presumably has no idea what the man is doing in his house. We hear him say that he's just been waiting for the doctor. He's waiting for the doctor too. And he's kind of mumbling to himself. He's just like, I should have never let him go. They kind of show a little bit of the apartment, and we see that there's a whole wall of like newspaper clippings on the case. It's looking kind of crazy, kind of like a conspiracy looking wall. And it's kind of just going over everything that's happened in the case thus far. And it's kind of implied with some subtle like flashbacks that Detective Tapp, I don't think ever believed that the doctor was innocent. That's when we also, in a flashback, we cut to a scene of Tapp obsessively going over Amanda's video that she was given by Jigsaw. And we see Singh, his partner, and he's trying to tell Tapp, like, come out with us tonight. Let's get a beer. Let's do something other than sit here and obsess about Jigsaw. And Tapp is like, no, I don't think so. And as Singh is leaving, that's when he spots something in the video. He gets a lead. It's an area that he knows. It ends up leading them to an old mannequin factory. But Singh mentions getting a warrant. Do they think they have enough for a warrant? And Tapp's like, who said anything about a warrant? we're just gonna go in. We let nobody know that we're here. We did not get a warrant. Like, we are going in fucking blind with no backup.
To the master of traps.
Exactly. In a fucking huge warehouse that you've never been to before, you don't know this location, and this person knows it so well that they're able to build these really intricate traps in it. So just think about that. But they don't think about that, right? So that's the point. So they're wandering through, and they actually stumble upon Jigsaw's workshop. They burst in, and they also see that it's the place where he filmed the video for Amanda, because they spot some stuff that was in the background of the video. And as they're wandering through, just kind of looking through everything, they end up finding a small like diorama in a shoebox of the bathroom scene that Jigsaw was planning at that time, the one that we know that Adam and Larry are in. They just don't know the significance of this. They don't know what it means, but it's just something for the audience. It was planned down to the T. So they also uncover Billy the Puppet, very creepy, as well as this creepy, it's like a pig mask with like a 20-inch bust down attached to it. And it's sitting on the counter. It's very creepy looking. But yeah, I mean, it is a silky wig. So while they're looking around, they end up hearing a man mumble out of nowhere. And so they lift another cover, and they realize there's a man chained up sitting in the middle of the workshop. Just then, they hear the elevator coming up, and Singh really wants to just take Jigsaw by surprise, just get him as soon as he walks in. But Tab wants to see what he's going to do when he comes in. So they end up covering up the guy, who we find out his name, Jeff. They cover up the diorama, cover up the puppet, and they end up hiding. Which to me is, I just thought this was very, very silly. Jigsaw walks in. He's wearing a hooded robe that's really covering his face, so they can't identify him. He goes to Jeff, who is about to be another one of his victims. He's talking to him. He's standing there. That's when the police decide to pop out. But now, because you let Jigsaw get into his workshop, a workshop that you haven't cased, you don't know what the hell's going on in here. Once they pop out, he's now able to step on a big button on the floor that's attached to the machine that Jeff is tied to. So on either side of Jeff's head, there's 2 drills attached to this machine. Essentially, the machine is going to move closer and closer to Jeff's head until these drills go into his head. They only have about 60 seconds before Jeff is killed. The police now are left with a decision. So Jigsaw's like, you can either catch me or you can save this guy. And I was like, I feel like no. I feel like they don't have to make this fucking decision, because Jigsaw is really fucking with them anyway. First of all, it's 2 of them. They're armed. One of them has a shotgun. The other one has a pistol. They don't do anything. They're just kind of like all over the place. It's like, it's such a chaotic scene. They're not handling any of this well. Jigsaw is making them look through a box of keys. They pull out this janitor's fucking ring of keys. Clearly, you're not going to find the right key in time. And they're like, tell us which one of the keys it is. And he's like, nah. This fucking machine is mostly made of wood.
Break it.
Break this damn. One of you has a fucking shotgun. Just shoot it. You can shoot it anywhere and it'll break. It's wood. So they're just standing there like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. Which key is it? And they're like, sit down, like get on your knees. Jigsaw's like slowly moving away. Yeah, he's like, I'm not going to do that. So that's when Singh puts his thinking cap on, because it wasn't on thus far. And he decides to just shoot the thing. It stops the drills from going. But Detective Tap gets all fucking distracted. They're not handling the situation well, and it gives Jigsaw the opportunity. He's on his knees. He pulls out a big blade, and he slices it across Detective Tap's neck, cutting his throat. So now that gives Jigsaw the opportunity to escape. He just starts running through this big ass warehouse. So Sing is obviously immediately just drawn to Tab because he's like, oh my God, I don't want you to die. And Tab's sitting there. He has his hand over his throat. He tells Sing to just go get Jigsaw because obviously that's the more important thing. And it doesn't seem like Jigsaw sliced him bad enough for him to die in this moment. So Sing runs off. Sing spots him, tells him to freeze or he's going to shoot. He doesn't freeze. So he fires a shot with the shotgun and it presumably hits Jigsaw in the back. He falls to the ground. As Sing is approaching the body, he does not notice that there is a tripwire laid out in front of him that is attached to a shotgun, to the trigger of a shotgun. And as soon as he touched the tripwire, it trips the shotgun and his head is blown to smithereens. And I know that you probably think I'm exaggerating when I say smithereens. At first I thought his head was gone. That's how fucking mush it is. So that's the fourth on-screen kill. And that's when Jigsaw just stands up, like fucking dusts himself off and just strolls out the fucking building. And Detective Tapp is wandering down, bloody and crazy looking, and he finds Sing on the ground, head turned into fucking jello. And he's devastated by this.
This is all your fault, Jan. This is all your fault.
I'm not trying to, like,
I am.
shit on him.
It's all your fault. Because, first of all this would have happened if you would just came out with us.
First of all, we could have been drinking right now.
Trying to eat. We were trying to get snacks.
We were trying to get wings and beer. Have a good night.
You wanted to work.
You wanted to work. Okay. You found a lead, but then you don't want any backup. Okay. Then we go in, the guy's coming up. We have the element of surprise, and it's before he can get far enough into the building where he has access to any trickery. Because we know he has a little bunch of shit in here, a bunch of shit that we're unfamiliar with. Instead of just fucking doing anything about it.
You want to have a cool story.
Yeah, let's see what he's gonna do. This isn't fucking summer camp and you're doing a panty raid. No, it's a fucking murderer. And then I was like, what the hell am I looking at? Because y'all are fumbling, dumbling, bumbling messes trying to figure out how to get this machine off. But one of you should be focusing on that and the other one should be cuffing Jigsaw. Why aren't you cuffing him? What the hell are you thinking? So yeah, no offense, Tap, but
you got your partner
you
killed.
fucked up. You did, and I hope that you live with that for the rest of your life.
Which he was, because
which he does.
As we cut to present day.
Well, so yeah, now we cut back to him in this trashy ass apartment, and now it's zoomed out so we can really see how trashy and crazy it is in here. He's going through it. He looks crusty. The place looks funky. There's papers everywhere. It's like newspaper clippings all over the wall.
It looked like after Steely left.
That's exactly. He goes through it every single time.
Every movie somebody leave.
He's lost it. And then that's when we see the large scar across his neck. So now we're cutting back to the bathroom. And it's almost 4 p.m. They've done nothing with their time. The movie started, it was 10:45 in the morning. So I would just like to note that. No offense to Larry and Adam, but y'all don't have y'all's thinking caps on either. So now Adam is still hiding this photo, but he's staring at it. So it causes Larry to be like, hey, what the fuck's going on over there? We should be thinking, can you help me? Can you participate in this? And so that's when Adam suggests that Larry turn off the lights, which Larry does. And sure enough, they find an X on the wall in the dark. It's written there with glow-in-the-dark paint. So then when Larry breaks through the wall in that spot, they end up finding a lockbox that uses the key that was in Larry's envelope earlier. When they open the box, they find a cell phone, a couple of cigarettes, and a lighter. Adam really, really, really wants to smoke these cigarettes. And Larry's like, that's the dumbest shit I've ever heard in my entire life. This person is a fucking murderer. You don't know what's in these. It could be filled with fucking rat poison.
Even if it wasn't filled with rat poison, your hands got shit on them.
All right, yeah, so let's be clear on that. There is no soap or clean water in this bathroom. Adam still has and you can see it because when they do close-ups of him like holding that picture, it's fucking dried on his hand.
Put the shackle on my hand so I can cut my hand off.
It's so gross. But yeah, no, he really, really, really wants this cigarette. He's really fucking thirsty for it. Now, while he's kind of bitching about wanting this cigarette, Larry finds a note that's addressed directly to him. It reads, "The cigarettes are harmless, I promise. Smoking is only poisonous when it ends in bloodshed. Think about this. You don't need a gun to kill Adam." Now, Larry doesn't share this note with Adam.
Because it says shh.
It does say shh. I was like, and what did you do? I shut my fat ass up.
You shut up and you allowed him to kill your cell partner.
And he's like, but what about me? Who's gonna love me? So that's when Larry's like, okay, no, I'm not giving you the fucking cigarette. But he tries to use the cell phone to call the police.
Oh, yeah, because...
Because that's gonna fucking work, Larry.
Because he gave y'all a cell phone literally to call the cops. I'm so sick of him.
I know. So when he tries to call out, surprise, surprise, it doesn't work. It doesn't work that way. This phone is not made to call out. It's only made to receive calls. But this busy signal that he's getting, it jogs Larry's memory. And he remembers that the night before, when he was leaving work, he got in his car, he drove to the front of the parking garage, and he was trying to use the phone in the parking garage to call the attendant to let him out. But all he got was a busy tone. So he tried to use his cell phone, but for some reason, he also couldn't dial out with it. It was like being blocked. And I thought that this was also another extremely creepy, extremely well done, very effective scene. While he's walking to his car in the parking garage, he says that he thought that he was alone, but he could feel like there was somebody else there. He doesn't notice, but we can see that somebody is opening the backseat of his car, climbing out. It's somebody, it's so fucking creepy looking. The person's wearing a long robe, like the one that we saw Jigsaw in earlier. This one's red. And they're also wearing that pig face with the 20-inch bust down. And they're slowly, very, very creepily, like low to the ground, crawling towards a very unsuspecting Larry. It's terrifying. Then the pig person jumps up at Larry, and that is how he ended up being captured. Now that Larry is done relaying his story, he starts to look at Adam a little bit more suspiciously. And he wants to know, well, Adam, how did you know to turn off the lights? Like, you knew that that would work. How? And they kind of get into an argument here, and there's a little bit of back and forth. But Adam is like, fine, you want to know how I knew? He gives him the picture of his family all tied up, and Larry is distraught. And I would like to think that Adam was doing this to spare Larry's feelings, but I think he was really doing it because he doesn't want Larry to get so pushed to the edge that he kills him, right?
Because let's not forget what his tape said.
And then it's also like 4. The deadline's 6. So things are getting kind of hairy in here. So Adam tells him that he couldn't show him before, but he's sorry. They don't get into it any more than that, but this is exactly probably what he didn't want to happen. Larry is starting to get a little bit more desperate. And so he kind of figures out what the note about the cigarette was telling him to do. And while Adam is looking away, he dips the mouth portion of the cigarette into the dead man's blood, the one that's lying in the middle of the room, because he remembers that when they first got here, the tape said that this man's blood was poisoned. And so you kind of get the feeling that Larry is about to betray Adam in some way. But surprise, surprise, Larry's not a piece of shit. He ends up turning off the lights so that the killer watching them can't see them, and he whispers very quietly his plan to Adam, and he's telling Adam to essentially just play along. So Larry ends up tossing Adam a cigarette, but it's the cigarette without the blood on it. So Adam gets it, he starts smoking, and then in one of the absolute worst displays of acting I've ever seen in my entire life, Adam pretends to die. But so horribly that I know that the killer was probably like, do you think I'm a fucking idiot?
So he was like, I know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna show you death.
I know what I'm gonna do. So Larry yells out, he's like, hey, I did what you wanted. He's dead. Now where's my family? So the killer just fucking straight up electrocutes Adam. Straight up makes short work of that fucking charade. And Larry gets mad at Adam because he's like, what the fuck? That was our best shot at getting out of here. And Adam was like, I just got electrocuted.
Did you not hear the buzz?
That's why I think it's loud as fuck. But I have to imagine that James Wan did that for our sake, because Larry doesn't acknowledge at all. Like, it's like he doesn't believe that Adam got electrocuted until like the end of the movie. So it's at that moment that Adam remembers how he got to the bathroom.
Because if you thought we were done with flashbacks.
Hell no. So here we go, flashback. Here's the scene. So he was getting back to his piece of shit apartment, which he was not lying about. His apartment is a piece of shit. And he goes into his dark room. It's like a little bedroom that he has set up for all of his photography stuff, a makeshift dark room, because apparently Adam is a photographer. So we can see him developing some pictures. He hangs one up and the plot thickens because the picture that he's hanging up is actually of Larry Gordon. So then we cut to a little bit forward in time. Adam fell asleep. So he's waking up from a nap and he's in complete darkness. His power is out. His flashlight won't work. But then he hears a noise in his apartment and he goes to investigate. This is where he lost me.
Because we know.
Investigate?
Because what you look excited to find?
And then what are you going to do when you find it? But the only light source that Adam has at this point is the flash from his camera just every time he takes a picture. It's not a stable light source. So now he's moving through his apartment with only brief flashes, brief moments where there's actually light. And then all of a sudden, fucking Billy the puppet, Jigsaw's puppet, is in his living room. It's been placed in a chair and it starts laughing. This crazy, fast, high-pitched, maniacal laugh right behind him. And Adam does not leave this apartment.
I don't like how he handles this.
I don't know that I've ever seen someone handle a situation so poorly in my life.
Oh, yeah, I have.
Oh yeah, we watched The Hills Have Eyes.
Yeah. Trust me.
I just feel like if there's ever a time to like
just
nope
leave
out of something, is this not that time? Does your front door not work? Is the doorknob made of lava? I'm very confused about what we're doing right now. Because he ends up picking up a bat, he beats this doll.
Does telling where you are.
Right?
I was like, dang, now they know exactly where you're at. Because they put the doll there.
So now they're like, okay, he's at the doll. So now from a closet, they make a little bit more noise. And if you think that this person that set this up for you fell asleep, they've been waiting for you all this time. They know exactly what they're doing. If you think that they accidentally made this noise, you're crazy. They're trying to get you to come to the closet. He doesn't leave. He continues on investigating. He's yelling out threats as if he's at all in control of the situation.
That's always the funniest thing. If you don't do this, I'm going to kill you. And it's just like...
I'm a murderer. I'm gonna kill you, actually. So that's when he makes his way to this closet. He opens it. I think this scene was so fucking scary. I'm scared of things being in my closet.
Talked about this on the podcast.
Yeah, I think this scene is so effective. He opens the closet and he can't see in front of him at all. It's pitch black. And talk about a jump scare, because when he takes the picture, there's the flash, and with the flash, we see Pig in the 20-inch bust down jump out, and he lunges at Adam, grabs him, and that's how Adam got caught. Something entirely, completely, painfully avoidable.
You didn't even try the door.
No. They would have had to fucking catch me next week, because I would have left that fucking apartment.
Oh, it's dark in here.
And as soon as he woke up, he heard a noise. I would have been in the next county over. You wouldn't have caught me in this fucking house. What are we doing right now, Adam? Well, yeah, he gets captured. And so that's when we cut back to the bathroom, and Larry is getting a phone call on the cell phone that Jigsaw gave them. When Larry answers it, it's his daughter. And she's crying, and she's telling him that the man from her room has a gun and he has them tied up. And I know he's probably like, damn.
I didn't even try.
I didn't try at all, and now look where we are.
And that's how Vicky died.
Yeah, no, straight up. So then the killer hands his wife, Allie, the phone, and she asks Larry if Adam is there. And Larry is shook and confused, because he's like, what are you talking about? That's when his wife just tells him not to believe any of Adam's lies, and that Adam knew all about him before they met in this bathroom. Then the call is disconnected, and Larry is beside himself, but also very suspicious, as he should be, because Larry looks at Adam and he relays exactly what his wife just said, and Adam is super piss poor at lying. Adam's a bad fucking liar.
And a terrible actor.
Yes, he is a terrible actor. And so Larry calls him out on it. But then Adam's like, oh, so I'm the liar? He's offended at this point, because he's like, well, you know what? You said that you went to work last night. You left your house, you went to work, and that's where you ended up getting captured. Well, you know damn well that's not fucking true. And then Larry doubles down on it. And he's like, yeah, I was at work. Don't fucking play with me. I know that's a lie. Larry, I know that you're fucking lying. And at this point, I'm like, Larry and Adam, what the hell's the point of lying anymore? Y'all are in a situation right now where you're both probably gonna fucking die. Like, you can't be honest with each other. Y'all don't even fucking know each other. Just be honest. Additionally, I'm like, Larry, again, it's a fucking affair, bro. It's not like you're Dexter and you kill people in your spare time. Who gives a shit about an affair? People cheat all the time. You don't want your wife to know, fine, but like, you can't tell the police. You can't tell your lawyer. You can't tell Adam. Like, what the fuck?
Because who is Adam?
Who is Adam? And then I'm like, you're trying to get Adam to tell you the truth. You're trying to get him to be honest, but you're lying, and he just called you out on it. So what reason does he have to be honest with you? Like, you want to be a team, you want to work together, just tell the fucking truth. It's an affair. So that's when Adam reveals that he fucking knows he's lying, because he has in fact been following Larry for days at this point. And he's like, that's what I do. I get hired to spy on wealthy men. And he ends up throwing stacks of photos at Larry as well, just to drive home that, yet, like, I know what the hell I'm talking about. You're lying. That's what was in that plastic bag with the saws from earlier that Adam had secretly hidden in the bathtub. He also reveals that he followed Larry last night when he was captured, and that he was in the parking garage, and that was that feeling that Larry got when he was like, I felt like I wasn't alone. And so then we, of course, flash back to the scene. It turns out that Adam was following him, and there's like a moment where Larry closes his eyes, puts his hands over his eyes, and that's when Adam snaps a photo really quickly. And Larry kind of feels like something happened, but he's not sure that something happened, but that's why he got the feeling that somebody was with him. Only he wasn't in the parking lot at his job. It was the parking garage of a sketchy hotel. And Adam asked him, well, what were you doing in that hotel anyway? You left pretty quickly. Then we cut to the scene. we have another scene. Larry arrived to the hotel to meet a woman. That is true. It is the person that paged him when he was telling his daughter good night. And he is kind of pissed about that because he's like, why would you page me when you know that I'm at home with my family? I gave you specific times. And she's like, I'm sorry, I don't know the rules of affairs with married men. So she starts to get undressed, but he stops her. And he apologizes. He's like, I should have never brought you here. And he's about to leave the room when the phone rings. Now, nobody is supposed to know that either of them are here. So she's pretty shocked because when she answers the phone, she looks at Larry. She tells him the phone is for him. So Larry picks up the phone, and then someone whispers, I know what you're doing, doctor, and hangs up. So Larry is fucking shook, and he hightails it out of there. And then, of course, we know from Larry's recollection, he gets abducted immediately after this. Now, Larry wants to know from Adam the name of the person that paid him to take pictures of him, because he's like, that's obviously the person that has kidnapped us and placed us here. And Adam's like, well, you don't know that's true. And he's like, Adam, what the hell is the guy's name? So Adam just says his name is Bob, but he doesn't know anything else about him. So Larry's like, Jesus, can you at least just give me a description? And so while they're kind of having this conversation, it's cutting back in the movie between them having the conversation and then the man in Adam's apartment that hired him. So when we see him, he's completely shrouded in shadow. But the more that Larry's asking him questions, like, is he tall? Is he short, skinny, fat? As Adam kind of starts to describe him, the person is walking into the light. Adam's saying it's a tall black man with a scar around his neck. When he's fully in the light, we see that it's Detective Tapp. Detective Tapp hired Adam to trail Larry. Which isn't surprising because Detective Tapp is also spying on Larry. So that's when Larry's like, oh, you know, it's that detective. And Adam's like, I'm pretty sure this guy isn't a detective. And that's when Larry tells the story of what actually happened to Detective Tapp after that night. So he was actually discharged from his job, which not fucking surprising. And he kind of lost his mind after his partner was killed. But he was still stalking Larry and completely obsessed with the idea that he must have had something to do with the murders. And I guess I'm just like, Tab, what a waste of fucking time and resources. Because just finding Larry's pen light at one crime scene does not...
What about the other ones?
Right. Let's think, put our thinking caps on. So now they start arguing again, Adam and Larry. And Larry just kind of starts to break down. But that's when Adam sees in the photos that there is someone else in Adam's photos of Larry's house from that night. He throws the photo to Larry, and Larry immediately recognizes the person as, surprise, surprise, it's the orderly Zepp from the hospital that he had that little encounter with. So he is very furious. And that's when they notice that their time is up. It has just hit 6 p.m. So now we cut back to Larry's house, and this is the first time that we see Zepp's face full on. And so this whole time, Zepp has been the person watching him. So Zepp is like the killer. he also has been watching them from a setup in Larry's home. Has been holding Larry's wife Allie and his daughter Diana hostage this whole time. So that's when Zepp gets up. He goes to Larry's wife and daughter and he tells them that Larry's time is up. It's 6 p.m. So he has to kill him. Those are the rules. But his wife has to be the one to call Larry and let him know that he has failed. So he puts the phone up to her ear, not knowing that in this time that he's been gone, Allie has worked on her restraints and found a way to free her hands. So once Larry answers, she ends up attacking Zepp, and she is able to get the gun away from him. She tells him to get on the ground, which she does, and she holds the gun on him, but does not shoot him.
Because you can't just kill somebody.
I know. It is hard to just take a life. I know. But her fucking daughter is in here. Her daughter is still restrained next to the bed. This man has made it very clear that he's going to kill you and your daughter. And so I guess in my mind, I'm thinking, how do you think it's going to end if you don't shoot him? Do you think that now that the quote unquote tables have turned, that he's just going to be like, oh, you got me, and leave? I don't know. And so then she is on the phone with Larry trying to ask him, where is he? They need him at home. And Larry's like, girlfriend, I am being held captive. I don't know where the fuck I am. I'm chained somewhere. You have to know that because you've been calling me.
She's like, I don't know what that means.
Yeah, she's like, what the fuck are you talking about? He's like, I cannot say it another way. I have been kidnapped. But just then, she gets distracted by her daughter and she looks away for a second. But that's long enough for Zeb to jump up and they start to wrestle for the gun.
My note for that was, Ruth doesn't like children.
I don't like children. And I was like, of fucking course. Of course. But as they're wrestling for the gun, some shots ring out, which Larry can hear on the phone, but Detective Tapp can also hear it. He goes and he looks at the footage that he's taking of the home, and on his camera, he can see flashes of light showing that the shots are, in fact, coming from Larry's house. So he rushes over. He breaks in, and a whole gunfight ensues between Zepp and Tapp. And it's pretty wild, but it's giving Allie and Diana enough time to escape. Larry is hearing all this without any context. He's just hearing screaming, he's hearing shots, fighting, commotion. And so his mind is, of course, assuming the absolute worst. But realistically, Allie and Diana have escaped the situation. But Zepp runs off to find them. And Larry is, like, losing it. But that's when, out of nowhere, Larry gets an electric shock to his ankle cuff, a really, really bad one. And now you're led to believe that Zepp has shocked him in order to kill him, because on his way out, when he's going to chase Allie and Diana, Zepp is like, okay, I'm going to find you, but first I'm going to kill your husband. And he goes to the computer and you can't tell what he's doing, but that's when Larry gets this crazy shock. And he is fucked up for a minute. He's laying there. There's like foam coming out of his mouth. And it looks like he's dead. And Adam believes that he's dead. So Adam is freaking out. So he starts tossing stuff at Larry. And Larry does eventually wake up. And Adam's like, oh, fuck. Thank God. Because if Larry dies, Adam is just kind of stuck in this room by himself. So Larry wakes up, but at this point, he's at the end of his rope. Total fucking end of his rope. He's heard enough of this gunfight, but not knowing that Allie and Diana escaped, the phone, it disconnected. He kind of threw it when he started convulsing from this electric shock. So when the phone starts ringing again, and it's out of his reach, it's just way too much out of his reach for him to grab at all, even with some, like, trying to reach out with objects and stuff. He can't get it. he's going crazy. It's too much for him to bear. And he starts freaking out. And now Adam, in a turn of events, is the one that is trying to remain calm in the situation because he can tell that Larry is getting dangerously distraught right now. He's hysterical. So he keeps telling Larry, calm down. We just have to calm down. We just have to think. But none of this is working. Now, meanwhile, Tap and Zepp are getting into a whole car chase. And they end up at an old warehouse with Tap pursuing Zepp on foot, hot on his heels. And he ends up catching up to Zepp, and they get into a battle over the gun, and it seems like Tap has the upper hand, but in a very quick motion, Zepp is able to just maneuver himself and shoot Tap in the chest. And he dies, and Zepp runs away. And it's like, no, by the way, we didn't mention Tap is Danny Glover. And I didn't want to see Danny Glover die on screen.
Oh, he deserved it.
He was doing a lot. So that is the 5th on-screen kill. Now, back in the bathroom, Larry is out of his mind at this point because he couldn't answer the phone. They've hung up. He doesn't know what's going on. So he just, it happens very, very quickly. He ends up ripping his shirt off and he makes a tourniquet, ties it around his leg, and then he proceeds to saw his foot off, like above the chain on his ankle. So it's pretty high up above his ankle. And so now he's super fucked up. So he's losing a lot of blood very quickly. He's super pale. And that's when he's still losing his mind. He crawls over to the revolver in the dead man's hand, and he uses that one single bullet that he got earlier, and he takes his gun, and he's like, I'm sorry, Adam, you have to fucking die. Adam is screaming. He's like, please.
And they're probably already dead.
So would killing me really help?
Yep.
Larry's like, I have to do this. And he ends up shooting Adam, and Adam goes down on the ground, dead. Larry is utterly distraught, and he's screaming because he wants to see his family. He's like, I did it. I did what you asked. But while this is happening, we actually get a shot of his family, and they're totally safe. Unbeknownst to him, they're at a neighbor's house, totally okay. That's when Zepp walks into the bathroom with Adam and Larry, and he surveys the scene. It's crazy in here because Larry is all he can do is just kind of crawl on the ground. There's blood everywhere. There's that dead guy in the middle of the room. Adam's been shot. It's just a lot going on. And so Zepp goes and he checks that Adam is really dead. He kicks him. There's no response. But he looks at Larry and he tells him it's too late. And Larry's like, but why? And he's like, those are the rules. I was very clear. And so just as he's about to shoot Larry, surprise, surprise, Adam's not really dead.
Yay.
Yay. He jumps up and he grabs Zepp by the leg, pulls him down onto the floor, and a struggle ensues over Zepp's gun. And so they're fighting. It's getting really hairy. And that's when Adam he takes the top off of the toilet and he ends up beating Zepp to death with it. And that is the 6th on-screen kill. That's when Larry crawls over to Adam. And that's when we see that Larry tells him, you're going to be okay. You were just shot in the shoulder. It's going to be fine. But Larry's like, I have to go get help because if I don't go get help right now, I am going to die. I'm going to bleed to death, which Larry looks horrible.
The makeup effect was really good there.
It was really good because he looks like he's bleeding to death.
Yes.
Like he is, and he's shaking. It's very effective. But they have this really touching moment because Adam really doesn't want him to go. He's crying. They're lying, face to face because Adam is still chained in this bathroom. He doesn't want to be alone. And then if Larry leaves, he'll have no idea what's going on. He just has to put all of his faith in Larry at this point. And no offense, Larry looks horrible, awful, at death's door. But Larry's like, I have to do this. As he's crawling away, Adam's like, we're going to be okay, right? And Larry turns and he's like, I promise I'm going to send someone back to help. I wouldn't lie to you. And he just crawls away. So that's when Adam starts going through Zepp's pockets because he's like, okay, surely he must have
the key.
Does he have a cell phone? Does he have the key to the locks? Like, he has to have something on him, right? Something that can help me. And that's when he pulls out of his pocket a tape recorder, the same fucking tape recorder that Adam and Larry got. He is super confused and he presses play and he finds out that Zepp was just another victim of Jigsaw. He was just following the rules that he was given in order to get the antidote for a slow-acting poison that Jigsaw has given him. His challenge was to murder Allie and Diana in order to save his life. All of this is super shocking to Adam, and it's just kind of dawning on him the implications of this. He's sitting there, and I thought the camera work was really amazing for this scene. It's very effective because we're sitting there and we're looking at Adam, who is like dumbfounded at this point. So we're focused on him. When just out of focus, like in the empty space of the shot, the fucking dead guy that's been in the bathroom this entire movie, who has been laying there, he starts to get up. He rises up off the floor. So he's on his hands and knees. And Adam is damn near in cardiac arrest because he looks over like he cannot believe this is happening. The guy then gets to his feet and he ends up pulling off the bullet wound makeup that he's had this entire time. And he looks over at Adam and he's just like, hey, the key to that chain is in the bathtub. And it's and it's the same voice. It's the voice that's been on all the tapes. So he knows, like, oh shit, this is the killer. This is Jigsaw. That's when Adam remembers, and we get the flashback too. Remember at the beginning of the fucking movie, when Adam freaked out and sat up and drained that tub, the key went down the drain. There is no key anymore. So then we get a bunch of shots from the movie. They're all pieced together, kind of showing us things from Jigsaw's point of view so that we can get more information to make it more clear as to what the hell is going on here. And we learn that Jigsaw is actually that patient, John Kramer, the one from the hospital that Zepp was talking about when he said his name's John. He's a very interesting guy. The one that has the inoperable brain tumor, the terminal cancer. When Adam tries to grab the gun to shoot John, John uses a remote to electrocute him, thus revealing that every time they got electrocuted, it was not, in fact, Zepp. It was John, Jigsaw, who was laying right in the room with them. So then it makes it even more silly. Remember when they turned off the lights and Larry was whispering to him to, like, go along with his plan with the cigarette? It just makes it even more funny because it's like the killer was in the room with you the entire time, so he heard this entire plan. And then in a big asshole move, John walks over to the door. He turns off the lights. And so Adam is in complete darkness, and Adam is reaching out and he's screaming, begging, do not, please don't. And John just says, game over. And he slams the door, leaving Adam to die screaming in total darkness. And then the credits start to roll.
And we're like, what the hell did Adam do?
Okay, that's my thing. This is another example of the punishment being disproportionate to the fucking crime. Adam was just hired by like private detectives to spy on people, and I thought we were talking about people that didn't value their lives. Adam was just trying to make a fucking living And he was like, I think you're pathetic. I think you're a voyeur. And I'm like, isn't that not a matter of opinion? He's out here trying to make money with his photography.
He's a private detective, pretty much.
Yeah, so what the fuck, bro? It's like that doesn't even fit your own MO. And then it's like, okay, you know that the key went down the drain. So now because he worked as in like the private investigating sector, now he has to starve to death with a bullet in his shoulder and a chain on his ankle in the pitch black
The shitty hand.
with shit on his hand. I just thought that was wild.
You are an ass.
You're an asshole, straight up, because I feel like this alone was enough punishment in my opinion.
Going through this?
Yes. But yeah, the credits start to roll, and we don't learn the fate of Larry or Adam until like subsequent movies.
John Kramer is an asshole.
He's an asshole, just straight up. So that makes the kill count 6, and I thought that this was kind of surprising. So for the Rotten Tomatoes,
Yes.
it's a 50% critic and an 84% audience.
I don't know why they gave him such bad reviews.
I don't either, because I thought that for the first movie that these guys ever did, I thought that this was a really, really well done foray into filmmaking, because it could have been a sloppy, messy mess, but it worked. You know, I felt like they tied up all of the loose ends. I felt like they didn't leave us hanging, and that can happen a lot because they opened a lot of storylines. I mean, just like a ton of storylines. You had Adam's storyline, you had Larry's, you had Tap and Sing, and you had John Kramer, you had Zepp, and I'm just
It was very trapped in the closet.
it was very trapped in the closet. Lots of things going at once. You have you have like the mistress was there, the wife and the daughter were there. It's like a lot. And so I felt like they did a really good job of kind of closing everything up. I felt like they kept you guessing. I just feel like if you say that you saw the body in the middle of the floor standing up, like if you say that you called that, I think you're fucking lying.
It was obvious like he wasn't alive because like I've seen a dead body before and like I know what it looks like when it gets shot. So like obviously it's just not. that's how the comments sound.
That's how, no, I swear, I hate that. When people are like, actually, I did see it coming. No, you didn't.
You did
No, you
not.
didn't.
You did not.
But I just thought that that was, for the first time making a movie, I was like, what a twist. Because it's hard to have twists that get a lot of people. I mean, it's hard to have that Bruce Willis is actually dead level of twist in a movie. And so I just thought they did a really good job with that. And so I was like, damn, critics.
They probably were like, it's gross. It's a scary movie. It's nasty. They have a lot of like.
I agree. But then I was like, realistically, I didn't think that this one was that bad gore wise. I felt like it
No.
was a lot more story driven than gore.
Oh
They
yeah.
get a lot worse.
Him cutting his foot off. I had to turn my head.
I have such an issue with the foot cutting off because I just felt like, just for Larry, like I just felt like, Larry, that was this stupid. You're a surgeon. I think that you couldn't cut like your foot. You had to cut your leg. That's a lot more arteries. I think you could have survived if you cut your heel off and then break your foot a little. You know what I mean? Like I just felt like he did a lot. And I know that he was at the brink of madness, but Larry. But yeah, no, it is, they do show it, for the most part. They show him sawing into it. They never show like the foot and the aftermath. His jeans are hanging over it. But that is probably like the goriest, I would say, part of the movie. But yeah, so IMDb, it has a 7.6 out of 10 with 466,000 reviews. And I think that's pretty good. I think that's a fair rating for this movie.
I think like that 7% is more. It's more on inclined than like 50 because that's just like I guess it's like I mean you like it you like it or you don't.
Yeah, I mean, straight up. Yeah, I guess it's like, it's a 50-50. Some people were like yes, and some people were like no. And it's like, that's fair. I was surprised. It reminds me of like a Rob Zombie movie. They're typically like that, where critics kind of pan it, but the audience kind of likes it.
Some Rob Zombie movies wish they can get 50%.
Well, no, I'm just saying the difference between the
Oh
critic and
yeah,
the
it's
audience.
different.
No, yeah, no. Okay, so fun facts. Saw was first screened on January 19th, 2004 at the Sundance Film Festival that year. And the audience reception was overwhelmingly positive, and so that's why Lionsgate picked up the rights to distribute the film, because it was originally planned for a straight to video release. They weren't planning on releasing this theatrically. They just didn't think that there was a market for it. But because of how well it did, they released it in theaters in North America on October 29th, 2004. I mean, great decision on their part, because this movie alone made over $100 million, and then the franchise altogether has made over $1 billion.
So y'all eating good over there.
Yeah, I know the producer that was like, y'all, I think we might want to release it. I know that he probably got a raise immediately.
He came in that office like, you goddamn right.
Yeah, I know he wasn't taking shit from anybody after that. So Saw 2, because the movie did so well in theaters, Saw 2 was actually approved for production opening weekend of Saw 1. Because they were like, oh yeah,
Money.
let's get this money. Yes. And Saw 2 ended up coming out in 2005, just the next year. James Wan, who I just think is so talented, but Lee Wanell is also very talented. Like, I'm not trying to shit on Lee Wanell, because Lee Wanell is also, he's a writer for like Insidious. Like, he wrote the Insidious movies and a bunch of other stuff. But James Wan is extremely talented. In my opinion, he not only came up with the idea of Billy Jigsaw's doll, but he actually made it from scratch using like clay, paper mache, and some painted ping pong balls for eyes. And it became the face of this franchise.
Let me go ahead and put these two little things together real quick.
Boom. $1 billion
Boom.
franchise. So James Wan and then Lee Wanell, they're friends in film school, and they knew that they really wanted to make a film together after they finished school, but they were really poor, obviously. And so they could really only afford like one room. However, they challenged themselves to create a film that only occurred in one room. So that's kind of where the writing started for this one.
Mm-hmm.
This film was the product of that brainstorming. And it's, they came up with this idea, and it's actually considered one of the most profitable and successful horror films of all times when you think about what it made compared to its budget.
And like it's cool, like you on this first one, like they got Danny Glover to do it.
They did get Danny Glover to do it. And the detective Singh, he's also an actor that's in a lot of stuff as well.
Yeah, he is, but
And then they got Magoo to do it.
they got Magoo to be Magoo with his old Magoo ass.
Yeah. So the actor Tobin Bell, who plays John Kramer, Jigsaw, he actually signed on to the project because he was like, oh shit, Danny Glover's gonna do it? Okay, I'll do
Mister?
And Danny Glover has that pull. Mister? But yeah, so he signed up for it because I guess, Danny Glover doing it, I think brought a little bit more legitimacy to the movie as well, because we know
Right.
Danny Glover. Another fun fact, Tobin Bell actually, as they were shooting the movie, he is really laying face down on the floor in that prone position every single time you see him. No dummy was used at any point.
Really?
Yes. So all the scenes that they're shooting with him in there, he just had to fucking lay there. And I was like, damn.
Talk about good acting.
That's what I'm saying, because at no point there's never, like, if you read trivia about this movie, if you pause it, you never see him breathing. Like, he never slips up and takes a breath. I was like, good for you, Tobin Bell.
That's crazy. I thought it was a dummy.
No, so, piggybacking on that, no dummy was used in for any of the bodies. So that guy that's hanging on the razor wire is really a guy hanging on, obviously not real razor wire, but he's really hanging there like that. So yeah, the guy that was obviously the guy that was on the floor with Amanda was like a guy. They just put like a sack of pig uteruses on him. So she's stabbing the pig uteruses, and that's what she's like moving in her hands and stuff. So according to DVD commentary, James Wan actually stated that many of the scariest scenes in the movie, so like the closet scene, that was really scary, like something crawling from the back seat, all of those things the ideas came from nightmares that he and Lee Whannell had as kids, and they just like adapted them for the movie. And I was like, damn, therapy is essential.
They ain't gonna pay me for my trauma.
Exactly. And then, so last one, the identity of the Jigsaw Killer. And this is what I was talking about earlier when I was like, I feel like the movie is really tight. I feel like they did a lot of smart things where they put in a lot of like clues, hints that you might not catch on your first viewing. But then knowing what you know, you can pay attention to more like the smaller details. So the identity of Jigsaw is revealed very early in the movie. So during the flashback of the rounds, when Larry is doing the rounds and he's talking to the med students and he's telling them about John Kramer, and Zepp's like, oh, his name's John, not patient. And you get that flash of John, he's like laying in the bed, you see him. It's quick, but I had to go back and watch it. He has a drawing of the reverse bear trap plan sitting right there on the table. If you go back and look at, he already has the doodle, so he already knew that he was going to be doing this.
Hold on. Wait. It's about to be in real time, everybody.
It was colon cancer. The patient has come in for a standard checkup, by which we are able to monitor the rate at which his condition is declining.
His name is John.
His name is John. Dr. Gordon. It's a very interesting.
Isn't that crazy? That is so crazy. You would never notice. I did not notice. I have seen this movie so many times. I had the DVD. It wasn't until I was looking at interesting facts for this that I even fucking noticed that. I never paid attention to what he has sitting on the desk in front of him.
Damn, that's crazy.
I thought that was very cool.
I think so too.
And I'm sure that there's a lot of like other little things that you probably, if you look hard enough, you'll see if you pause it. And I just thought that was super cool for your first movie to just be able to have like the wherewithal to put things like that throughout the movie. I was just like, props to them, because they were really young doing this with nothing. I mean, a no budget. Thank God a production company picked it up, and thank God the production company sent it to theaters, because it was going to be a straight to video release, and I know for damn sure we would have never seen it. So with all that being said, we're done. What do you think? Is it a hit or a miss?
This one, I'm going to say this was a hit. I was shocked that I liked it as much as I did, because I have never thought to watch these movies.
Mm-hmm.
Ever. I was always like, I don't care about this. It's not something I'm interested in. But I was really surprised with how clever it was, and the story. There were things about like that were never like they sucked, but more so just kind of like I wouldn't do that. But stand the horror movie flair. But all
Mm-hmm.
in all, like definitely one to check out. I don't know if I will ever sit and watch the other 8. because I've seen Saw 10. You know, we'll see. Maybe if it's recommended. But all in all, this was a really good movie. I was happy I checked it out, and I appreciate the recommendation. So, what about you? What do you think?
I think that it's a hit. I mean, just like unequivocally, I didn't even go back and forth on this. I'd always liked the first two Saws. I thought that they were great. It's just kind of after that, it kind of starts to like fall off for me. But I just, and I know that I've said it a bunch of times, I just thought that it's just such good filmmaking on their parts, like a newbie. Like these two kids were able to just make this really great movie, and that's not easy, we know, because we've watched some
Terrible.
bad fucking movies. Yes. So I just think that they did really good. There are moments that are legitimately scary. There are moments that are very creepy. All the closet scenes, the lights being out, the car scene, where they get kidnapped. I just thought that those were really effective, and it's really hard to legitimately scare people. I thought that the use of the puppet, that could have fell flat, that could have been kind of silly, but I thought that they used it the right amount in this movie because they didn't use it too much. And I thought that it looked good. I thought that it was effective. I thought that the pig mask, being robed at the pig mask with the 20-inch, I thought that that was a really effective, really scary costume. So it's just like, I think they did some really, really good things. I think that there were so many elements that were very unique. And I think that it's a twist that you don't see coming. And I love being surprised.
Yes.
And so, yeah, I give it a hit. Everybody should watch it, I think. Even if you don't like gore, this movie, I know that the franchise has a bad reputation, which it should, because it starts to get crazy. So I don't blame you for feeling that way, but if you've never watched it for that reason, I think that you can watch this one and it's fine.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's all I have to say. Thank you, Dondria, for recommending it, because I really do not think that Dante would have ever watched
No.
it if you
Not at
didn't.
all.
And I really appreciate that because I wanted him to watch it.
I would have said, yeah, I'll watch it later.
Right.
And later would have been never.
Exactly. So, yeah, do you want to tell them about the social media?
Yes. So once again, thank you for our month of listener requests. We'll hope to do it again soon.
Mm-hmm.
But if you do want to ever contact us, or have some ideas for future episodes, or just tell us what you think, because I think that's one of the things we like the most, when people tell us what they think about the movies and episodes themselves.
Yes.
You can always contact us. Instagram, we're very active on it. So did you get that on film? We also have the YouTube channel and the Facebook, and those are all did you get that on film. And our email address, also did you get that on film @gmail.com. So just, drop us a line. We're always excited to hear. And if you are listening on a Spotify or Apple podcast, feel free to leave us a review as well as a rating.
Yeah. And so that is it. Thank you guys for sticking with us. We appreciate all of our listeners, and especially our hardcore listeners, our international listeners. I mean, we couldn't be more appreciative. So thank you again. And we'll be back next week with a brand new episode.
Yes.
So until then, bye.